Hi, well, thanks for having me, and hello everyone. I'm Scott Morris. I work with the MTA, and I'm here to talk about the new app, MYmta. I've only been in transit for about a year and a half now, so I'm sure I'm a neophyte compared to most of you guys in the room. I did, however, use Andy in the picture to make sure I got like the glow off him, since it really likes Andy. So how many people have tried out the new MyMTA app? And I hope you guys all gave it 5 stars in the App Store. All right, so this is what we launched with. It's a responsive web. It's native to iOS and Android. We launched in July. It was a long time coming, and as most of you probably know, there's a lot of data cleanup and a lot of back-end things that sort of took us a while to get to where we are today. And it's a new day for the MTA. So this was really a project where we brought all the agencies together, and we're starting out with talking to people, right? So I talk a little bit later about the idea of a monologue versus a dialogue, and it's really something that the executive team has been talking about quite some time. We really want to hear what's going on with you guys. So you can see the numbers there for the people we talked to even before we wrote one line of code, but this includes that we meet with them every 2 weeks as well. We actually have focus groups, we do quant studies and things like that. So everything that we do is tested, validated with users, and we really try and pull it together. So we launched in beta because we understood that those numbers are pale in comparison to our riders, and hopefully the number of people that will actually be using the app. And so it's really a journey, right? So we launched it. When you do a lot of customer insights, as many of you might know, you get a lot of requests. So the app has got a lot of things going on. So now we're really getting feedback from customers. Like, we want them to reply in the app itself. We get a lot of Twitter feed information. It's really important to us that we change the idea of what the MTA was and really start building a trust with people. And that's really what part of this is. So we have some basic features here. What we launched with, what we currently went live with. So the latest was some live bus trackings, like the bus time app had. And we also started making fewer clicks to see your trip plans. You can see here that, just a quick screenshot, but I recommend people use the app to favorite things, routes and lines and things like that, because that's what really gets you to the information you want fastest, which, as I think most people would agree that they just want to know when the next train is coming and whether it's going to get me there on time. And, if you favorite things and click on it, that gets you the information fastest. Tomorrow, actually tonight, we launched the website, and tomorrow the app, a new version of the app's coming out. It's actually going to be a component of the app that's like a VIP section for our paratransit users. So that's actually coming out tomorrow. And it's sort of like Uber for people with accessibility needs, right? So it gives you door-to-door service or curb-to-curb service, and it allows people to book their trips, cancel their trips, manage it. It gives you can actually track where your ride is coming to pick you up. It can track you along the ride. It's pretty interesting. It's a small segment of our population, but it's really an important component of what we're trying to do here to serve the community. So that's, the website is actually live today. Of course, I don't think any of you are paratransit users, so you won't actually be able to take advantage of it, but you can read all about it. And then tomorrow the apps will be able to go live. So it's been about 5 months. We've had some uptick. It's not quite the 6.8 million riders we have every day, but we have a lot of people using it. So there's been 5 million unique web users. We've had over 870,000 downloads, and it gets pretty good usage. It's there's been 11.3 million trips planned. Really, the number one thing that people use it for is actually nearby, and that goes back to you just want to know when the next train is. So everybody clicks nearby, they click on the train, and tells them when the next train is, and that's where the bus or subway, and so that's where we are. For the first speaker, many of the other people in the room, you're probably wondering why we actually built an app itself. Like, why didn't we just clean our data and let other people do it for us, like Google? And we do that. And actually a big part of the project was actually cleaning it up, but there's good reasons why the MTA wants to do this, right? So one thing is that customers want the information from the source. So we tell them that we give the data to Google and Apple and local app developers, and they just still want it from the MTA. So that's one thing. And then we had all these apps. So the idea of it needing to, look at train time for LIRR and then look at the subway or the bus time app, and going back and forth, you can't really plan your trip that way. So it was really to bring together an all-in-one app. So that's number one. It's a place to communicate with our customers. So I know that there was a lot of things going on last summer at Penn Station, and we have a lot of things coming with the L train tunnel reconstruction project. And so we wanted a place where we could actually talk to our customers and actually get information to them quickly. It's a unified digital platform. So we'll be using this to launch future projects. You'll be able to do when the new fare payment system comes into play. I'm not sure what we're going to be calling it actually, but it's it'll be a unified experience for people, right? And it goes back to this customer feedback. It gives us a place not just for us to convey information, but for you to give us information back. Twitter's there too. Often many of you obviously use it, but we like to hear it directly. I didn't go into the code and things like that, but we are talking a little bit about the process, because one of the things that we see on Twitter is that they have feedback for us with recommendations, things they don't like, things they do like. And as you imagine in a large organization like this, and dealing with systems that are sometimes very old, but they're monolithic. It's running trains, it's running buses, it's making sure we know where the buses are and things like that. And they're big systems, so you can't be quite as nimble as you'd hope. And when we started the process, the data needed a lot of cleaning up, and it's still a journey, but we're trying to get there. And so we're not quite as agile as we want to be, but we're getting better. And so it's more iterative right now than it is agile, but we're going to move towards that as we go. And each phase of this is there. But as you can see, if you read that, it's a little bit waterfally. We ask customers what they want, then we sort of co-create it, we ask them what they want, then we validate it, we get more feedback, and then we actually prioritize and build it. And that's pretty waterfally, but we try to be as iterative as we can and sort of put it together. So that's sort of the process we've had. With that comes some of the benefits. Obviously, as we've gone through that, I mentioned the data cleanup. We've also done a lot of system enhancements. We've done some monitoring of the system, so we actually know before they go down when we're having problems. We've done some load and performance testing. We've boosted it. We're moving things into the cloud. We're doing some system enhancements. Again, a lot of the data that you're seeing in your app, for instance, is there's legacy systems for entering that information, so they can't put in all the information you might want. So you're looking at just the next time, which is pretty good. The real time is pretty good. But if you're looking at delays, for instance, or information about services on the A train, you only know it's on the A train somewhere until you actually get in and you read it. Where we're trying to get to a system that'll actually give you more focal information, like between these 2 points, and so you actually know what's being affected. So we have this vision of everything actually being all interconnected, and having a true way of doing things in an agile way with microservices and truly touching everything together. I don't know if we'll ever get completely there, tying everything together, but that's the goal. And really, leaders like Andy and Ronnie Hakem are really pushing for this to make things better, not just for our app, but for all the third-party apps. So some roadmap items. One of the things that we found out in user testing, which was a surprise to me, was that people preferred the actual clock rather than the minute countdown like you were showing. So they want to know that it's at 11:23 or 7:28, which was interesting because the countdown clocks are not that way. However, there's a large community that still like the countdown clock, so we're adding a toggle so you can go back and forth, and that's coming pretty soon. We have the bus tracking. We're going to be adding the rail tracking. That's going to be coming soon, so you can actually see where your train is. You can believe it's coming. That'll be an interesting thing for all of our rail riders. And we actually have a pretty big rail release coming up in the near term because we want to improve the schedules. Train riders don't really look at trip plans. They really just look at the schedules and sort of want to know what the next 3 trains are, next 5 trains are. And we're going to make the schedules work more like an actual trip plan, so they can actually quickly scroll through that and get the information they're looking for. And also for the train riders, we're going to give them an e-Tix deep linking, so you don't just click to the Tix app like you can do today, but you'll actually be able to buy your ticket and and it'll pass through the information. A big one, hopefully for everyone, is the CRM integration. Soon you'll be able to not just give feedback on the app, but you'll actually be able to tell us what's going on in real time in the stations as you're walking up. And you'll be able to, you can do that today on the old site and things like that, but this is something we're going to build more intuitively into the app. And we're going to be building in some personalization. So eventually you'll be able to create an account. All your favorites will go from platform to platform. You'll be able to have it much more personalized about your own personal commute. It'll give you information about it, things like that. So that's sort of the nearer term roadmap items. Some longer future enhancements are push notifications. We're going to be doing some of that sooner rather than later, but sort of a true, like as you're walking to the station, tell hey, you're near this station and it's one of your favorites, the next train's coming at this time, or you're walking over your house and it's like, hey, your commute's messed up today, you want to go a different way, things like that. So, but that requires an overhaul of the sort of back-end systems to do some of that. Trip sharing is great for parents, but also just meeting up with friends and telling people where you're going. Trip tracking, so if you're in the middle of your trip and something happens up ahead, we can give you some alerts, divert you, give you recommendations. Crowdsourcing should be a popular one. It's ways for transit, right? The idea that you guys can report it first, it gets out there quickly. If it's and then if you actually go in and validate it, and you get enough validations, they'll actually go to our customer service people, and they'll actually be able to make changes. But more importantly, it'll be the fastest way for you to get your information from other riders. And that could be things not just like, hey, the heater's not working in the car today and it's freezing cold. It could be that, hey, this car is really crowded, go to the other end of the platform or something like that. More information. Weather-based trip planning, I think people just do that inherently, but it's nice to have a feature that gives sort of an update like, hey, today it's going to be raining, so you probably don't want to walk a half mile like you normally do, maybe less walking trips. And you'll be able to integrate it with some voice systems, both in the app itself, but like places like Alexa, where you can actually say, hey, what's my commute doing today, and getting information back. So that's really it. I was just going through and sort of talking about it a little bit and giving you a glimpse into what's coming. But I want to hear from you guys, like we do in the app. What are your questions? What are your concerns?
Scott, great presentation. My question is, how do your trains and buses communicate to your data centers?
So it's it's different for each service, right? Even in the subways, right? So we use a beacon service for what we call our B division, which is all the letter trains. We have GPS on our well, it's not quite GPS on the A division, but it actually tracks them in our close time. There is GPS on the buses themselves, and on the trains, a lot of them have GPS. Some of them are still getting it, but that's the tracking. So it's a little bit mixed bag, but we're trying to unify it and get it better, because the beacon system in the B division, for instance, is a little bit of an algorithm to sort of guess, but if it stops, we don't really know. So it might be 3 minutes away, but it might actually be stopped, and it's still 3 minutes away, but it's going to be there for 10 minutes. We don't know that, and so we're trying to make that better, but it's coming.
Do you have any success metrics for the app, like monthly active users, or percentage of riders that are using it?
Well, some of those stats up there right now, because it's still in beta, we're just sort of tracking the general use. So the number of downloads, how often people are using it every day. So the interesting stat is that on the web, they're really just looking at it quickly. So you have about 5 million uniques that have done it on the web, but they really just like, what's my commute doing, and something like that. If you're using, the vast majority of the use is actually iOS, and even though it's less downloads, they actually use it quite often. So they go on it pretty much every day, and they're on it for like 3 or 4 minutes, because they're actually walking around tracking, when the next train is coming and things like that. So so that's the kind of metrics we're using. We do get, we've gotten about 30,000 pieces of feedback through the app itself, more through other things. So we compile that, we prioritize it, we try and, some of it is smart things, like you can't pull down to refresh, and stuff like that's coming. And things like that. So some of it's just user experience, some of it is, hey, you said the train's coming in 5 minutes and it's not. So we're trying to fix those things as well, but that's more of a data issue.
Let's do 2 more questions.
Okay. Go ahead.
Is all the data that you're using available for the developer program, or is there something general data?
We make all of our data available through the program. We obviously normalize it a bit for ourselves and for the app itself, and same as Google does and things like that. So there's some transformation of the data, but all the data is available to everybody.
What is pushback from like the other systems? So Energy Transit, Metro North, they all have their own app with ticketing all inside, and now this seems to be like kind of on top, and it kind of like aggregates all of them. Is there like pushback from them, or is this been a collaborative thing?
It's been very collaborative. We've included them right from the beginning. I mean, we really couldn't work within the agency without including them. The challenge isn't, that there's been pushback. It's the challenge is that each app is there for a specific reason. So it's very, like the train time apps, for instance, like this might have a nicer user experience, but you can get to your schedule much quicker in train time. So we have to get on parity and above that before, we really do anything to supplant them. But right now, we work closely with all the agencies and they're supportive. So, we're moving forward. It's been good.
Yeah, last question.
Sorry. Does this have anything to do with maybe like the removing of metro cards in the future?
No,
Is this how you're going to be taking?
I mean, it's definitely a separate program, but the idea would be that we're trying to create a single platform for everything. So again, that takes time. You have accounts for your alerts. You have accounts for your e-tickets. You have accounts for we're trying to unify all that. You'll have an account for your new fare payment system, which is what's going to replace the Metro card in 5 years, right? So the idea is that this is a single platform for that, but that's a separate thing that'll just come together as a unified experience for you.